already we are in basically March, and already that means we are in the UCL knockout stage, and we're not in the playoff round. We're in the round of 16 today. UEFA did the draw for the round of 16, and can I say I'm surprised? Definitely not. Let's start with every single matchup. PSG Chelsea on the left side of the bracket as a first matchup, you can say. Um, PSG either was going to get Chelsea or Barcelona. They got Chelsea, and it's gonna be a good game. It's gonna be interesting to see how PSG is looking like as the defenders of the title. How Chelsea can look against like a team like PSG with Roseneur as their manager, and if they can compete in the UCL. We've got Galatasaray against Liverpool. Again, this was a game in the group stage, and both these teams have two of the most intense home supporters in Europe. So this is going to be an electric tie. It's going to be a very entertaining tie, and it's going to be a very entertaining watch. Of course, we're in the modern era. We get another Madrid versus Man City matchup. We already had this about like 10 times in the past 5 years. We had it one time in the group stage this season. And once again, we have it in the round of 16. So it's going to be, once again, a good matchup, hopefully. I think that Man City have started picking up form at the right time. Evidently, as have Madrid. They're still very shaky, as are Man City. But I think both these teams are looking like they're going to put up a good fight for this game, and it's going to look like a good, entertaining game to watch. And already, these games are basically in 10 days. So, it's not like we're waiting about a month for this to happen. So that's pretty good. Atalanta versus Bayern is an interesting matchup because this Atalanta team, I haven't really watched them yet. Because, Gasperini left and Lookman left, and they had some departures, and Gasperini, who was our manager for 7, 8 years, who got them to his level, has left, and I don't know how good they've looked like outside of basically that era. I haven't really watched them this season, but the fact they made it to this round is, they're still that still means that they are a team of the same level as what Gasperini brought them to. But Bayern have started slipping up a bit this season, and they started the season and they were top two teams in the world with Arsenal, for basically the most part of the first half of the season. Bayern were up there. I mean, they were playing out of their minds. They were, as per, of course, they were destroying teams in the Bundesliga, but they were playing very well in the UCL as well. And, it's going to be a good matchup. Hopefully, Atalanta can, give Bayern a run for their money, but it looks like it's going to be a good matchup because Atalanta does have a team that isn't really just going to sit back and just absorb and wait for a counter. They're going to try and impose themselves a bit too. So that's the left side of the bracket. The right side of the bracket. And before I say this right side, UEFA loves doing this thing where one side of the bracket looks unbelievable and one side of the bracket looks meh. On the face of it, on the right side of the bracket, it looks meh. Can it be much better depending on which team goes through, based on European pedigree? Absolutely. But UEFA loves doing it. And it's usually on the left side of the bracket where they put everybody on one side, and it's that side that's going to be more enticing watch. For example, and I'll get to this once I talk about more about Barcelona, but let's start from the bottom and we'll end with Barcelona Newcastle. We've got Arsenal versus Bayer Leverkusen. That's going to be an interesting matchup, and Arsenal are currently, I guess you can say, as much as I dislike the way their system is set up, and not how their system is set up, but the brand of football that they play, I dislike it. And either way, they're still top. Let's just say the first best team in the world this season overall, based on how they carry out their instructions and their system. Can Bayer do anything in this tie? I highly doubt it. They have quality still, but it's not like what they were under Xabi Alonso that one season. They had too many players that left. They had Frimpong that left. They had Wirtz that left. And they just basically had numerous players that have left, and they're not as good as they were. But, it's a UCL knockout stage. You never know what happens, but Arsenal is a favorite for that one, obviously. Bodo Glimt versus Sporting is an interesting matchup because you can kind of say both these teams are lucky that they drew against each other, because Bodo Glimt, it has been unbelievable for who they are. They've beaten Man City, they've beaten Inter twice, they've beaten, I think it was Atletico Madrid or somebody else of high level, and they're looking unbelievable. And even Sporting this season are looking unbelievable. Now imagine if any of these teams, for example, drew against Bayern or Chelsea. It would be kind of a shame because they are as good as they are for who they are, but they're playing against a European giant. But the fact that they've matched up against each other will be an unbelievable matchup, and you know, at least one of them will go through. So we'll see one of them in the quarterfinal. So that's interesting. It does look on the face of it like a Europa League matchup, but it is what it is. This is the draw. Atletico Madrid Tottenham. Like it's just not a game that entices me. And now even though Atletico Madrid signed Lookman and since January they've been looking very, very, very good at Atletico Madrid. Apart from a loss 3-0 against Rayo Vallecano, they've been looking very good, especially with the addition of Lookman. But it's just not a tie that entices me. I do not like Atletico Madrid's brand of football at all whatsoever. I just don't like watching them play for the most part. They have games where they look good attacking wise. It depends on how Griezmann performs. For example, Griezmann is a player that makes you want to watch a game. But overall, it's nothing. I mean, this matchup is not interesting because Tottenham is just shocking, and I don't even know how they had such a good performance in the UCL, but they're so poor in the league, and they've made it to this level, to this point of the competition. Could they actually go through here? Of course. I mean, Atletico Madrid is a very good team right now. They're in great form, but they're not, absolute giants, and they do have a bit of a choking gene in the UCL. So that's that with them, but Tottenham have the choking gene in every competition. So it's going to be an interesting matchup, but I do think Atletico Madrid will go through. And finally, Barca versus Newcastle. Now, I'll give my take on this. First of all, these teams played in the group stage. It was away at St. James Park for Barcelona, and Barca basically won that game because Joan Garcia as a goalkeeper is insane. Rashford had like a script ass game where it was like, oh, it's Rashford's first return to England since joining Barcelona, so he had to score two great goals. It was one of those things. So it had to be like Rashford scoring two great goals. Joan Garcia had a great game, and Pedri and De Jong were very good in possession. Of course, Pedri had an insane game that game. So it wasn't really an overall good team performance. If anything, a lot of the players were really bad on Barcelona, but they got the win, and it will be a tough matchup for Barcelona, because of how Newcastle play, because of their physicality, and because of how good they are on capitalizing on the counter. Now, when it came to the draw, Barca's options were Newcastle or PSG. I wanted Barca to get PSG because I want Barca to play against the best teams. I literally want to see a Barca versus Man City matchup really bad. I want to see that. We haven't seen it since 2017. We got it in a friendly in 2022 or 2023. And since then, we just haven't seen a Barca versus Man City matchup. I want to see it. I'm not gonna say for sure. I doubt UEFA completely, honestly, and just randomly do this draw. But it's whatever. I want to see something where Barca plays like the way they won the UCL in 2015, the champions of every league. I want Barca to see Barca play PSG, Man City, Bayern, or whatever, all on one side of the bracket. And can you say from a Barca fan point of view, it is nice to get a bit of the easier draws. Yeah, from a fan point of view, you can say that, but I'm not as emotionally attached to the club as I used to be, and I'd rather just see a good game between Barcelona. Do I want Barca to win? Absolutely. Do I want Barca to play well and win? Absolutely, even more. But I want to see Barca play against the best teams. And if you look at this bracket, let's just say Barca makes it to the semifinal. Let's just say. And Atletico Madrid are the favorites, Arsenal are the favorites. So if Barca beat Newcastle, Newcastle will be a team that they will press Barcelona, but they're going to be a team more that absorbs Barcelona. It's going to be a physical game, and they're going to try to hit Barca on the counter. So that's one of those games. Let's say Barca goes through, they go to the next round, Atletico Madrid beats Tottenham, and Atletico Madrid versus Barca is the same thing. It's going to be a physical game. Atletico Madrid is going to be a team that absorbs a lot of Barcelona. They're going to sit and absorb and counterattack. Now let's just say Barca beats Atletico Madrid and goes to the semifinal. Arsenal's in the semifinal. Arsenal versus Barcelona is going to be Arsenal sitting deep, or at least sitting in a mid block, trying to absorb Barcelona and countering on Barcelona. There's not going to be really dynamism to the different brands of football that Barca's going to have to play. If Barca played against PSG or was on the left side of the bracket, it was going to be, attacking footballers, attacking football. Both teams trying to have possession and control. If Barca played against Man City, big possession based game. Um, and it's going to be basically matchups that the systems of both teams collide with each other, clash with each other. And, I would like to see that more, but, we haven't seen that in a long time with these UCL draws when it comes to Barcelona. And for me, it's a shame, but, it is what it is. Realistically, can Barca get to the final, let's say? Absolutely. Any big team right now can get to the final here because this competition's in a state where anything could happen. Like, yes, there are favorites, but in the modern era, the game is just so athleticism based, so physicality based that there isn't really out and out favorites when big teams clash unless one team is insane form because there really isn't players with talent nowadays that can make the difference for their team. All the players now, for the most part, have to be, have to have good performances within their systems for them to have a good game. They have to carry out their role well. If you look at, back in the day, you could have a game where, you know, let's just say Barcelona Pep era. You can have a game where Messi has an insane game, and it's not part of the system. If Messi has an insane game, he's everywhere. He is everywhere. Now you have to have systems where, for example, the left winger who's holding width in the left wing has an insane game, and he's basically carrying out his role well. You don't have elite difference makers due to technical ability. That's why I say it's more physicality based, and it's going to be bigger, you know, dual clashes in these ties. But do I see Barca making the final? Like I said before, absolutely. They're gonna have to have it does look like an easy route, especially when you look at this Bordeaux Glimt sporting game, but it's not gonna be necessarily the easiest thing because all these teams right now are in good form, especially defensively, and they can all cause Barca issues on the counter. But can Barca beat Newcastle? Absolutely. Can Barca beat Atletico Madrid? Absolutely. Even though that first performance was diabolical, that's kind of like a one-off thing. I hope at least. Can Barca beat Arsenal? Everyone assumes Arsenal are going to be in the semifinal because of who their matchups are. I mean, they've got a really easy draw compared to everybody else. But can Barca beat Arsenal? It's going to depend on the form in the moment, of course. But I think so. Yes, it's just that Barca have to figure out their defensive structure a little bit before they go into, let's just say, an Arsenal tie. Because it's going to be interesting to see how Arsenal's defense clashes against Barca's attack. Probably the best attack in Europe versus the best defense in Europe. So in that case, you can say, even though the styles of football are like what I said before, I'm not like a game I'm dying to watch. It's still going to be interesting to see that specific thing. But anyways, the point is, this is the UCL draw. Once again, of course, UEFA is going to give us some games that we're all going to be dying to watch. Of course, Madrid Man City is going to be a game that everyone tunes into. But yeah, this is a draw. Let me know what you guys think, who will go through, who's the favorites, and I'll see you in the next video.